Hi everyone, my name is Emma Darnell, and for my Illustrator presentation, I'm going to be talking about Amy Soule, a contemporary illustrator and painter. She's best known for her traditional illustration, but she does also do digital illustration. Alright, Amy Soule was born in South Korea, but she did grow up here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and she still lives and works here. It's really interesting because Amy is completely self-taught. She never went to art school, and she completely developed her style on her own just through experimentation. Down below, I also attached a photo of her in her studio, and then also the piece that she was working on. This was in about 2015, so it's probably changed a little bit. For her style, it's immediately recognizable. She uses a lot of soft and muted pastel colors, delicate lines, and surreal imagery. The overall effect, it gives a calm and kind of dreamlike feeling, almost like stepping into another world. It's very fantasy forward. I love it. And I saw someone say that her work is almost like a visual poetry rather than direct storytelling, which I think really works. And then I also just attached some of her pieces down below. You can kind of see the style that I'm talking about. And then these works are from about 2018, 2020, I believe. Her style was directly influenced by manga, folk art, vintage illustration, and modern design. You can really see these elements throughout her work. I feel like especially in the way that she draws figures, you can tell that's derived from manga, as well as just the balance and simplicity, kind of similar to folk art, and just the way that she composes everything. You can tell it's very intentional, and that was definitely derived from modern design. And then I also attached a piece that I feel like really highlights all of these elements that I just mentioned. For the techniques and mediums that she usually uses, she often paints with acrylic or oil paint on wooden panels. In some cases, she will hide the wood grain, but in a lot of cases, she likes to keep it because she thinks it adds texture and just more meaning to her pieces, which I love. I actually couldn't find any images of this, or at least any images that showed it really well, but I hope you can kind of imagine what I'm talking about. She does also explore digital illustration, and she kind of applies this texture in there as well. You can see it in some of these pieces in the way that they're scanned. And then for the subjects and symbolism behind her paintings, you'll often see a lot of young women, animals, and plants. These are very symbolic. You'll see a lot of animals like foxes, birds, deer, and I've also seen her use bears. These represent companionship, guardianship, or transformation. The way that she places them and how they interact with the human figures, it suggests a story, as well as emotional connections, kind of like what I said earlier, that visual poetry. And then I attached some pieces that really highlight this as well. And then moving on to her exhibitions, Amy Soule has done a ton of exhibitions in her time as an artist. She's done quite a few shows internationally this past decade, and she's also had some shows here in Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco. She's also been associated with the pop surrealist movement and has shown alongside other well-known contemporary artists like Audrey Kawasaki and James Jean. Her exhibitions are often highly anticipated, and her work is really sought after. Some people collect it, which I wish I could. Amy Soule is a very important figure in the art world. She kind of highlights that gap between fine art and illustration, like we talked about in class. She's kind of that middle standing point. Her work tells a story, but not in a literal way, and it invites the viewer to kind of jump in themselves, and it feels personal but also universal at the same time. She's pretty much proof that illustration can hold a place in contemporary art while also being accessible and narrative driven. And then I went ahead and added some more illustrations down below that I felt like kind of represented this. And these are some of her earlier works, or her later works, just from a couple years ago. And finally, I attached my favorite work of hers. I feel like this really emulates just everything that I just spoke about, like her intention and the style and the symbolism. I personally admire Amy Soul because her art doesn't use loud colors and bold lines to attract attention. Rather, it gently kind of draws you in and makes you reflect on it. So it's pretty cool, soft yet powerful. And I also love all the connections to nature. So yeah, thank you guys.